In a world where ChatGPT was written by tabloid authors, we have finally solved the global resource shortage. And evidently, there is silicon to spare. This girl's front line. Basically, it's, as you're lane with guns. Naturally, it is quite popular with the FBI's no-fly listing. But this time, the enemy isn't off-brand Terminator. This time, the enemy is cancer. That's right, we raised money for Relay for Life, a cancer fundraiser where we spend the entire night locked in a room with some of the scariest creatures known to man. Frat bros. Basically, every frat has to come up with ways to encourage their members to throw money at them. However, we are not a frat. We are the fighting game community. Naturally, we were gonna have one guy eat soup as our goal. Didn't want to do it. Turns out, never had soup before in his life. And $2,000 for cancer wasn't going to change that. This kind of bourgeois, counter-revolutionary behavior wasn't going to fly in our far-left echo chamber. So, that milestone was changed to the execution of all of our tournament organizers. But to play the part of the executioner, I needed to look like one, so I got to work. This is the airsoft M4A1 I'm going to use to shoot my friends. I'm going to modify it to match the M4 SOP mod from the game. So, in order to paint it, I need to smuggle it into the spray room on campus very discreetly.
I don't know about you, but that looks like a fake gun to me.
It turns out this armor design is actually kind of whack. So I looked at some models other people had done and came up with a general idea of how I would approach it. Started by modeling and 3D printing the scope, flashlight, ammo boxes, antenna, zipper, picture handle, 1/4 scale gorilla, and will to live. Oh, sorry, you can't fix that with a 3D printer. You know, I really don't know why I felt the need to model and print a goddamn square box. I think I just wanted them to look clean with no effort, and while I got that, it really isn't that surprising that it looks like somebody's Roblox mod. Now I needed to make the jacket. I had intended to use something called a French theme for the arms. However, I failed to account for the fact that the French are slug eaters who think this is peak video games. Naturally, it didn't work, so I used a lining instead for the second and final version. You could argue that I should have made another mock-up, but it's my video and you can't control me. So I spent 9 hours making the final product, at least I think it was 9 hours. My recording died after 1 hour, and then I woke up 9 hours later with some writing on my hand. I had intended it to be a bit baggier, but overall I can't complain, as it looks quite nice on my effigy. After sewing it up and using my padding for the ammo belt to hide my shitty stitch, I listened to the mysterious note on my hand. It made the armband and the leg band with a blind stitch, which worked pretty well. Shoutouts to my sleep paralysis demon. The details, I ate some vinyl, thought very hard about my designs, and then threw it back up. Then for the shoes, I found a picture of a figure online which gave me a pretty good idea of what I needed to do. It took a while, but I needed to use up some of my giant bag of foam slop anyway. Unfortunately, I ran into some difficulties because I forgot my glue gun, so I was forced to use the shittier gun at the baker's bin. Everybody gangsta till the glue gun starts coming. As I got close to finishing it, I kind of winged it on the back. After some EVA foam clay, sanding, and a good caulking, it was ready as it was going to be. Now I just gotta make that damn dog. So, I wanted to make it walk because I saw this thing and I was like, oh cool, this will be easy, I already have blueprints for it. But no! So I knew I was going to use Legos for some part of this, but I started with the part I wasn't making out of Legos. Naturally, I fucked up the size of the holes that interface with the Legos, so I needed to use a drill press to fix that. And also, somehow the print lab managed to fuck up the print too? Some guy at the print lab was probably like, oh yeah, that print that's like 250 degrees, just rip that shit right off. So the print was warped to shit and I literally had to bake it in the oven like goddamn kids cuisine. And this is where the problems really started, right? Because I made it out of a Lego motor like the last video. I used these drive belts, which didn't fucking work. I should have just used chains. But after spending like $25 on a total of 10 Lego pieces in the last video, I was like, yeah, sure, fuck it, just use the drive belt, it'll work. No, it won't. They just slip over the fucking wheels. Who could have seen this coming? So I bought this belt conditioner that was supposed to help with the slipping, and it didn't do fucking anything. If anything, it slipped even more after I added it. And I got store credit for returning it. Fuck you, Advance Auto Parts. So I tried using sandpaper to rough it up and improve the grip, but that didn't work. So I just said fuck it and changed the type of plantigrade I was using and just used chains for it. And, well, it almost worked. So I printed some new parts, looped it up, reinforced the Lego bits, and tested it again. So I couldn't really get it to walk for more than like 4 or 5 steps before falling over, but at this point I've been working on it for a few months, and the photo shoot was literally months ago. So, yeah. Fuck this thing. With that whole mess out of the way, I made most of the aesthetic parts out of EVA foam to add as little weight to the motor's load as possible. I had to, I don't even know what to call this shit, scalp this EVA foam dowel, so it would fill the bullhorn. Honestly, it's kind of a miracle I didn't cut an artery and bleed out here. This time I painted each part individually to avoid the agony I endured while painting the Ember Silica gauntlet. And finally, it was time for the main event.
One of our donation incentives, we kept a bunch of them a secret. One of them was a quote-unquote e-board execution in which a bunch of us get shot by an airsoft gun. As you can see here, we have 22 with the gun prepared to shoot 4 of us. 5 of us, actually. That hurt. Alright, do we want to still do the 1 person at a time? Did it hurt you, bro? Yeah, that hurt a little bit. That hurt a little bit. Oh my God.
I think Nick should go again.
Fine.
Now that I had done what needed to be done, I moved on to location shoot. So we went to this abandoned building. I didn't want to spend a lot of time there because there's definitely asbestos in the ceiling.
Yeah, see, I said that before we came here to do the photo shoot, and an actual crackhead popped out of those bushes and happily told us how many drugs he was on.
So we had to come back later. At first I was kind of disappointed with how the photos came out. Like, there were a lot of pictures with weird lighting and angles. But eventually I was able to pick out like 5 or 6 good ones and a really good reaction gift, so I'll put that on the screen now. Thanks for watching the video. Consider a donation for Relay for Life, and comment your favorite suit to further traumatize Nick.